How's that?
That was good, except when I hit my button. Oh, no.
Okay.
Everything's good. I'm not going to...
Everything's fabulous. It's fabulous.
You know, so I have a virtual button here, and you know, of course I could have pushed it here. See,
Oh, okay. Yeah, but you don't want to do
I'm being
that.
overwhelmed by technology. You're cleaning up here, and I can't find anything. That's an illusion.
Where's my stuff?
That's an allusion to that great song, "Blinded by Science."
Yeah, blinded
She's
by
cleaning up
science.
in here, and I can't find anything.
Oh, been there.
Oh man, done that. All right, thank you, Radio Science News players. They're here every week, Robert.
Yes.
They come in here with their
Radio Science News players.
their electric guitars and their maracas, and you know they do such a
Those
fine
are
job.
some maracas too. Those are pretty special.
Mo Rocca.
Mo
I
Roccas.
know that guy. Anyway, hey Robert Strong,
Hey, Richard Pollock.
welcome to this week's episode of Radio Science
Radio
News.
Science
Dun, dun, dun.
News. This is episode number 812 in a series.
Wow.
Isn't that amazing? Now, any number, as you know, that ends in a 12 or
Yeah,
a 2
or a 2, you're right. Or
is
even,
probably not a prime unless it's only 2.
Yeah.
The factors are 2 and 2, 7 and 29. And
Nice.
this episode is brought to you by November 13th,
Don't you-
2021.
I don't want to hear any Big Bird references.
Yeah, I
No,
know. I
she's-
was about to say, I wonder if they are going to call me and go, wait, whoa, 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 whoa. You can't say that. That's our gig. But I love those guys, and so
I love Big Bird.
I do too.
And apparently,
think they're
I
awesome.
like the idea that Big Bird is as a 5-year-old. I think
Yes, is a 5-year-old. I did not know that Big Bird, after all this time, is still 5 years old.
Well, you know, he's like a perpetual. It's it's one of those wonderful things, and because you know we keep on having kids who become the same age as Big Bird, and they can relate to him, and he was saying nice
true.
things about
So-
getting his
So
vaccination.
he stays 5 years old. So every 5-year-old gets to relate to him.
Yeah.
That's a
And-
wonderful idea.
well, and
You know what? I think I should do that.
I think you probably will be more of a Cookie Monster guy, but that's all right. Never mind. Anyway, not to spend
Glazed
not
Donut Monster. I
not
think,
to spend
yes.
too much time on those
Okay.
guys, but I you know we have been sort of tapering off from so much of the. I almost want to say that the people who are, of course, paying attention and who are experiencing the COVID thing that we have.
Yes.
So much of the information is available, and it's that it's available. It's like the salad bar. It's there if you want it.
It's there if you want it.
And you can get it.
Yeah.
I just will refer to the fact that as I feel this cold weather, we had some really beautiful fall weather,
Mm-hmm. Yes,
and then
yes, we did.
bright sun, and then wind, and out in our area we had the wind actually snapped a telephone pole when power
Really?
was out for a while. It was
Wow.
really something. The only comment I'm going to, and I'll let people parse this as they wish and take from it, but they were saying that the nice thing. The interesting thing about, I think Senator Rafael Cruz, Ted Cruz, Ted, as his friends call him, Ted. Somebody pointed out that the one thing that Ted Cruz and Big Bird do have in common is that, especially like in Texas when all the power goes out, they do tend to fly south for the winter.
Yes.
And they.
Yes,
I'm
they
just
do.
going to leave it at that
was
because,
pretty cute.
all
Hey, I just want to say that yes, there is information, and yes, it is like a salad bar.
A
but
smorgasbord.
not all salad bars are good to eat at.
Well, that's true.
Sometimes the food's been sitting there a little long and it's a little stale.
That's right.
Just want to say, when you sit down and you're picking your information or your food, check out the salad bar.
Check
Make
out the
sure
salad
that
bar.
it's a valid salad bar.
Valid salad. I'm going to.
Yes,
Could
valid
you write
salad.
that down so I can?
I will. Okay.
All right, so let's get to the launch pad of
We
science,
shall.
Robert, quickly.
Okay. So I am going to go to my favorite webpage on the internets, which is www.smartcenter.org.
Oh, you would like that.
I love that place. SMART stands for, by the way, if we haven't talked about this in a while, Science, Mathematics, Art, Research, and Technology.
Nice.
The SMART Center is over 26 years old, by the way. And long before STEM, long before STEAM, we were doing STEAM.
Doing it all.
Yeah. When all of the rest of those folks weren't even thought about. So when you get to the Smart Center page, you can look down and the little trifecta, the T-shirt rainbows that in triumphant triplicate say Radio Science News, Radio Science News, Radio Science News. Click on the link right above that, and that's how I usually get there.
That gets you to the
That
old
gets me right there.
line.
Or if you want, you can do the old school. You can just go straight into
Go directly. Like,
Radio Science
like
News.
if you have a good memory, you can know that radiosciencenews.org, it's an org.
is the same as Radio Science News.
Because we're not trying to make any money, and we're succeeding
We have
magnificently
been
so
doing
far.
a great job at that, by the way. I don't think I have received a dime of
Well, you dimes, I know.
you. There are dimes.
Well, I'm looking at our topics, and we have diamonds, we've got ammonia energy, and we've got Viologan. I know you're really
Viologan.
into that, right?
I'm not sure.
I
What
have a little quote around a little
Viologon-
solar power thing that I think you're going to have some fun with.
If this is the link that you sent me, I am really into this.
We're in a little, and you know what? I have a bunch. We actually have a whole bunch of topics that I just like. I'm looking at C difficile, and so far it's been very difficile for us to get to the
difficile,
difficile.
the
Yeah.
transparent, the TT10. Of course,
We may
all
or
like
may not
TT10.
get to those because I keep finding so many other interesting stories.
You know what's astounding is it's just you and me, and
Against the
somehow
world.
a team of two guys
Can find
that
all this-
is doing
Yeah.
a radio show without getting paid for it. We seem to have more topics than any science show
Well,
that I see.
yeah.
And we do this once a week. And we've been doing this once a week since April of 2006? If you scroll all the way down to the very bottom, April 22nd,
Yeah.
2006. It just astounds me that I watch the news,
The news.
the news on one of the various channels, and I switch back and forth.
And they all have the same story.
Well, they have the same stories
Over and over again.
over and over again, and you're going, okay, so why are you playing 3 stories back to back in a loop when there's so much going on?
You know what? They're afraid people are just tuning in and missing it. No.
Oh, maybe that's
All
it.
right.
I don't
Well, I'll
know.
tell you what. Just because I like, I'm looking for all kinds of stories that pop up sometimes when I'm doing other research and stuff.
Okay.
And I like this little story about Diamond because.
Diamond. Okay, let's go to Diamond.
Okay, we're going to look at Diamond. This is from the good folks at Science. And this has to do with a diamond's flaws. A mineral found in a diamond's flaws contains the source of some of Earth's heat. Oh, there you're being warned that you're.
Yes, I'm. My computer has recently gotten
really
panicked
worried about you.
about the fact that others might be snooping. So I'm going to turn on my smartphone
Let
here,
them snoop. They can snoop on your phone.
and I will have that as a. I know it says net air certificate date invalid. This is a
Those
nonsensical sign that means that my computer's probably getting ready to die or something.
Oh, I hope
so.
not.
Yeah, me
All right.
too.
Well, you could look at mine on the big
All right,
screen
I
too.
will
So,
on the big screen.
a diamond's flaws contains the source. And look at this beautiful.
Wow.
So here's
That's gorgeous.
It says tiny gray blobs of mineral embedded in this slice of clear diamond are the first samples of newly named Dave Mayotte. I'm wondering if a guy named Dave discovered this.
I think you did.
And here's the thing: it's a calcium silicate perovskite mineral that only forms in the lower mantle.
Lower mantle.
Now, I mean, I just
Wow, the lower mantle. So we're talking,
Whoa, wait till you see
hundreds
this.
of kilometers, close to 1,000 kilometers down.
And you know what's really sad is you know what my first question is about this whole thing?
What?
I want to know why they named it Dave Mayoite, because it's got Dave. Let me just click on it. Let's see if it says. There's a link. I know as a science person,
Inquiring minds need to know.
Okay, I'm even going to go to the first link. It says calcium silicon perovskite has finally been identified in a natural sample and has been named Devonite. And then by Schauner et al. Discovered the type mineral trapped at high pressure and temperature as a diamond inclusion.
Okay.
Structural and chemical analysis of the mineral showed that it is able to host a wide variety of elements, not unlike fitting bulky objects into a garbage can. Specifically, it has large amounts of trapped potassium. Dave Mayoite, or is it Dave Mayoite, can thus host three of the major heat-producing elements. Uranium and thorium can be hosting this, affecting the generation of heat in the Earth's mantle, as if maybe there might not be other processes, Robert, but I'm not going to. So anyway, this is a cool a material science thing. Actually, this thing that I clicked to has probably a shorter little the summary, and you know. But if I'm going to jump back to the other story, because just as you were talking about how interesting and how, oh, here it is, it formed at depths of greater than 660 kilometers.
Wait. It says the team named the mineral.
There we
for
go.
A well-known experimental high-pressure geophysicist
Ho Kwang
Dave Mao.
Oh, so. Well, for heaven's sakes, why didn't they use his real name? Like, it could have been called Quangmite. Just as good.
Exactly.
Right.
Dave
Mayo-mite. All right.
And so his nickname is Dave Mao. So it's Dave Mayo.
Right.
Okay. That makes
it just
perfect
rolls
sense.
right off your tongue, man. Oh, gosh.
Maybe your tongue.
Yeah.
Mine's a little slick.
So anyway, as we often say on Radio Science News, this contains a wealth of information that we're not going to just sit here and we'd like you to read. It talks about the this is a diamond from brought up from Botswana. It's a Botswana diamond.
Diamond mines.
It says contained a high pressure form of ice, as well as another high-pressure mineral known as woostite. Okay, here's the part. The presence of these inclusions helped narrow down the rough pressures at which the Dave Mayoite, it's not even easy. Why don't they just call it Daveite?
I know.
Or Mayoite.
A Mayoite.
Or hold the Mayoite. Okay, Dave, here it is. Somewhere, just listen to this pressure, Robert. You think you're under pressure.
24 billion pascals.
Billion. Between 24
between 24 and 35 billion pascals.
And we're talking about real pressure. But anyway, it says the discovery directly links heat generation, the radioactive materials, the water cycle, ice. So think about ice, a form of ice that's being in that pressure, and the carbon cycle, represented by the formation of diamond itself in the deep mantle.
As I'm reading through here, I had estimated that when you're talking deep mantle, we're talking between hundreds of kilometers and 1,000 kilometers.
Yeah.
They're saying depths greater than 660 kilometers.
Just wow.
Wow. That is down there where it's hot and pressurized and all kinds of interesting.
And they also
happening.
point out that when they're talking about if you're in perovskite is a whole different, for people that are really studying this, that would be something for you to look at. It said, but they understand this kind of stuff going on down there, but the thing that surprised them that it was like very high in potassium compared to their laboratory predictions, which it says is leading them to speculate that what the source of that is. But it hints at the fact that the lower mantle is a more motley mix. Now the other story called it literally a garbage can, but the idea that I love the idea that they've looked at this very exotic new thing and they're going, we just don't quite understand.
We don't quite understand. And the reason is that with temperatures and pressures, the way that they are there, it's extremely difficult to even to even try to set up an experiment.
Oh yeah.
To mimic what they're finding.
Well, Robert, how hard would it be to create 35 billion Pascal pressures in your laboratory?
I would say hard.
Yeah, very hard.
Hard to almost non-doable.
You would say difficile. If
Difficile,
you were French,
oui.
you would.
Oui,
Okay.
oui.
Now, I'm almost going to apologize ahead of time because even though I have like a zillion topics here that I really want all the folks who do tune into Radio Science News or who actually visit the page afterwards and just purr out. A lot of people go, I could look through all these things without you guys talking all the time. And I go, that's great. I hope you do.
You should.
I have mostly sort of energy related stories. And I'm just going to say that partly, Robert, because I've been miffed this past week when I've realized that we're all suffering so much with high gas prices, even though I've actually seen the prices come down recently because I'm going, that's interesting.
So the reason that the gas price is high is that we don't have enough gas?
Well, basically,
He asks
OPEC.
knowingly.
What I'm saying is that I think that there are a bunch of odd reasons why, and if we got into it, you and I would be yelling about it. But I'm not going.
I think the only reason is that there's a handful of people that want to make an enormous amount of cash before
things go away.
these things aren't useful anymore.
You
I
may
think
be right.
that's what's going on.
You may-
But hey, that's just me talking.
But see, I just want to be the positive wave guy here,
And you are.
And so what I have is I found some interesting stories.
ammonia energy.
And this is cool. People have talked about this for a long time. The reason why this is interesting is that ammonia is one of those it's an interesting. The thing about ammonia and its relationship to nitrogen gas, there are all these processes where people have looked at how can we do this now. So in the midst of everybody saying, the gas prices need to go up.
To go up.
This is a story from literally November
I'm
11th.
not sure they need to go
just
up.
a couple of days ago, from some good folks up in Wisconsin.
The University
yeah.
of Wisconsin in
Yeah,
Madison.
I knew some people that were working
I know
on
you do.
stuff
Yes.
like this. But and here's a little simple thing. A research team at the University of Wisconsin in Madison has identified a new way to convert ammonia to nitrogen gas through a process that could be a step toward ammonia replacing, okay, let me just say this, ammonia replacing carbon-based fuels.
Oh, I like that.
Whoa.
So I'm looking at this molecule here.
Yeah.
It's a 5-sided pentagram-looking thing. And when you say ammonia, I know that the formula for ammonia is NH3.
That sounds right, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay, so are there a bunch of
Hydrogens?
NH3s on here? Is that what's going on?
I believe.
See, I'm not sure
I think we may be
what
looking.
the blue is.
I think we may be looking at it's a. This may be the catalyst structure.
Okay, that's got to be the catalyst structure, but I'm just
and
wondering.
you know that catalysts can do different things, right?
Yes.
And usually they help things up. But listen to this little that was the first sentence about replacing carbon-based fuels. Now here's the
I
second
like
sentence.
that concept.
The
That's
discovery,
an interesting
this
thing
technique,
to panic a few
which
folks.
uses a metal catalyst, and then you can.
So that's probably the blue thing.
And here it is. It releases rather than requires energy.
Oh no, not exothermic.
was reported in November 8th in Nature Chemistry and has received a provisional patent from the Wisconsin alumni. And here's another bright thing. I knew people that went to the University of Wisconsin, and they have a research foundation that patents things and returns
makes
money back
more
to the
money
university.
so that they can patent more things.
Okay, so here we go.
that they can do research.
This is going to sound simplistic.
Okay.
According to Christian Wallen, it says here, the world currently runs on a carbon fuel economy.
I would say that is true. Yes.
It's not a great economy because we burn hydrocarbons, which release carbon dioxide in the atmosphere. We don't have a way to close the loop for a true carbon cycle.
Whoa. Why should we ever close the loop?
Well,
Why not just
yeah.
burn them?
Yeah, okay. So
They're just a one-time thing. If you close the loop, then it would be recyclable.
okay, now here,
Richard.
when you were talking about your stories where you go, we see these stories and we wonder why they aren't. Okay, here, I see this, and as a nerd science person, I get a little excited. Here's another little sentence. The person that wrote this was very clear in there.
It says, we don't have a way to close the loop for a true carbon cycle where we could transform carbon dioxide back into a useful fuel. The only way to do that would be to burn wood.
Well, at least at that point, you're
Okay.
So that's a simple, but that's not
Oh, all
practical.
right, all
So, but here, now listen to this little paragraph.
It
it has
isn't
hard.
a horrible idea.
No,
Either
I
way.
do that. I've been burning it this week.
I do too.
So it says here, the scientists were excited to find that the addition of ammonia to a metal catalyst containing the platinum-like element ruthenium
Oh.
Spontaneously produced nitrogen in what kind of a reaction did you say, Robert?
Exothermic, which means it gives off heat. And when you give off heat, then it's useful.
Well, how about this? It says, which means that no added energy was required. Instead, this process can be harnessed to produce electricity with protons and nitrogen gas as byproducts.
So the byproducts are a hydrogen.
Oh, but here's the hard part, Robert. Sadly,
Hydrogen
Robert,
gas.
with closing the loop, in addition, the metal complex can be recycled by exposing it to oxygen and used repeatedly.
Oh no, not that.
And as our good friend would say,
and then you're done.
Okay,
Yeah. So wait. So essentially, you get a hydrogen gas, which you can use as a fuel again,
yeah,
and it's not a bad thing or a dangerous thing. It's not a bad thing for the environment. It's not gonna make you sick. And the other thing is this stuff called hydrogen gas, which makes up
it's kind of in the
a
atmosphere, right?
large chunk of the atmosphere, close to 78%. So that's not bad.
Oh yeah, but I used to watch Mike Hunt on Sea Hunt, and I found out that it could cause nitrogen narcosis.
Oh no, yes, but that's only if you're
deep diving.
going under water for long periods of time.
Okay, I'm just gonna read the last paragraph.
Oh, please
Well,
do.
not actually, it's not, because they continue to have wonderful little paragraphs that I would think would make this a big news story. Like, here, I'm just gonna read this. Ammonia has been burned as a fuel source for many years. During World War II, it was used in automobiles, and scientists today are considering ways to burn it in engines as a replacement for gasoline, particularly in the maritime industry.
What?
So, but it just goes through. The new reaction avoids all the toxic products of the old reactions for a fuel cell. Oh, it just goes on. This story has too much good news. I just can't take it, really. Wow. One of the great challenges I would like to think about is how to generate ammonia from water instead of hydrogen gas. Wow. Anyway, so they're looking even beyond the really amazing results from this discovery. I mean, the dream is to put in water, air, and sunlight to create a fuel.
You mean kind of like a plant does?
Well, kind of like that.
Yeah.
Except that if you can do it in way, I mean,
Sure.
I understand that we can, just like Jimmy Stewart said in that movie, if you could learn how photosynthesis works, you could
If
do
you
all
could
these
understand
things.
how a leaf actually works,
That's
yeah.
right, he said
If you
that.
could just figure that out. Well, these folks are on the verge of finding out how a different leaf sort of works.
Well, and to be really frank, basically these folks have just come out and said that they have this particular
That's awesome.
catalyst that you could almost, Robert, you could say it was a game changer. If you
I would say it's a game changer.
But but anyway, I'm going to go on to the next one. Viologan.
Viologan. I don't
Newly
know Viologan.
newly developed compound okay, so Robert, so you just use that so you've got that ammonia system all figured out, right? And it's generating all this electricity.
Sure.
What the heck
Why
are we
not?
going to do with all this electricity?
Well, could we
Store it.
Store it? Could we beam it into space? Could we
I
throw
say,
it away?
I say we store it.
Oh, okay, good idea.
Okay, so
I
I'm
say
looking at this beautiful
let's do
thing.
that.
This is the Viologan from the Text Explore people. And this is actually a link from the. I'm beginning to like the Phys.org website more
I
and
like
more.
them. They're cool.
Yeah, as I click it up, here's the thing that's talking about the 12 million mile battery. Where I'm not going to be sucked into reading a pop up.
Hey, it says newly developed compound may enable sustainable, cost-effective, large-scale energy storage.
And then, as our friend Fred would say,
And then you're done.
You're done.
I don't see anything wrong with any part of that.
Okay. Now here it is. What we're looking at is what's known as an aqueous redox flow battery. So
Well,
we get
yeah.
reduction, oxidation, and I'm looking at this, and this is kind of simple. Looks like they have two electrolytes. Here it goes. It says to produce a cost-effective redox flow battery, researchers based. And Robert, these are the folks at the South China University of Technology. This is in, Guangdong. This is in China.
They have synthesized a molecular compound that serves as a low-cost electrolyte, enabling a stable flow battery that retains 99.98% capacity per cycle.
So yeah, every time you run it out,
You can
You
charge
can
it
charge
back
it
up to
up.
99.98% as opposed to
That's pretty good, isn't it?
up to 99.9, and then the next time you do it, it's 98%. And
So
then
wait,
it's
you're a math person,
97.5.
Robert, right?
Yes.
Could you round that? Could you round that up for me?
You mean
99.
99.98?
Oh.
I would round that up to probably a 99.99.
No, I'm just saying that these people stop short
I'd
of
say
saying.
it's 100%.
They stop short of saying that. Anyway, it says you have 2 tanks of opposing liquid electrolytes. So, which
Oh,
means,
that's funny.
wait a minute, you could actually maybe you could go if you decided to use this, like we're all set up for liquid systems in cars.
sure.
Maybe anyway, it says the 2 tanks of opposing liquid electrolytes. The battery pumps the positive and negative liquids along a membrane. So we're basically creating a whole bunch of electricity here, and then to recharge it, you just do the opposite.
Right, which is the way that
Oh my
a
gosh!
good a battery or cell works. So,
Now, there's a lot of more complex stuff here, but I
Sure.
need to read this one sentence. Aqueous redox flow batteries can realize stable electric output for using unsteady solar and wind energy, and they have been recognized as a promising large-scale energy storage technology.
so you mean that when you're
Low cost and flexible. This is just really
so if you're if you've got your wind energy going, it's a good windy day,
Yeah.
and you're making more energy than you can utilize, then you could store it somewhere for days where the breeze stops, or for the solar power, when the sun goes down, it would
Oh,
be
yeah.
nice to have some electricity again. So yeah, this is
Then you're
this
done.
is that then you're done game changer that everyone has been looking for. Now, if it's true that indeed this is a low cost,
Well,
and
yeah,
that you can recycle that you can recharge over and over and over again, and it doesn't lose its ability to charge. Now the question is, is this a fairly scalable
Oh, it's huge.
kind of a thing?
Oh,
So-
it is.
So
Yeah.
it looks that way. And the second question is,
Will the Chinese let us use it?
is right. Well, the Chinese, yeah. Well, the second thing that comes to my mind, that's the
That was
third.
one of the things, yeah.
The second thing that comes to mind is it fast? Meaning,
Yeah.
can you charge something
Charge,
in real time?
discharge.
Or is this it takes you 16 hours to bring it up to charge? So, wow, I'm really impressed.
Well,
this is
anyway,
cool.
and I said there's more to read through, but basically, by adding this Viologen, I think I may have spelled that wrong off the corrected on the thing, is it's a cheap organic novel, and they're looking at what would be novel organic electroactive materials.
Wow.
So you know how we're always going to African places and digging up the savannah to find lithium and
Right.
cobalt and all this stuff.
Boy, wouldn't it be nice if we didn't have to do that? I'm sure that the world in general would appreciate that.
You would think.
I would.
I would think, Robert. I'm
Unless,
with
of
you.
course, I owned the lithium mines.
Oh, no. And I just bought all that stock in cobalt futures, Robert. What am I going to do?
No, don't do that.
All right, I do have to correct the spelling of
Okay.
Viologen. All right, now, because I'm glad that you've engaged my overemphasis on energy stuff today.
I
But it's
have no problem doing that.
But it's because I have to go put gas in my tank, and I'm thinking.
You don't have a fully electric, solar-powered car yet?
Not yet, but
Me either.
But soon, I'm sure soon.
I wish.
Oh yeah, I have written a really good song about a Tesla pickup truck, and I'm hoping Elon Musk will trade me the song. I'll trade the song rights for one of those cyber trucks. Is what I'm hoping.
No. A fleet of
Fleet. Well, at least 2.
Cybertrucks.
Unless,
at
unless
least
Libby
2.
wants one too,
No,
so it
no,
makes
no.
that 3. Okay. All right. So I am going to go to where I have in quotes solar
power in quotes.
Now, I got to say, before we do that, let's take a jump. Let's take a big leap over to the very right side of our or list of topics
To
to chart.
the chart. Okay.
I sent you this chart because I found it and I said to myself, what the? Because it's from the NREL, and I thought maybe that meant not real.
NREL.
The NREL is a government agency. And you know what they do, Robert? They do national research.
They put chips into your arm when you get the COVID shot?
That's
no?
not the guys. This is a really good, and there are people at West Virginia University that are part of NREL.
Which they don't do, by the way. Okay, this is best research cell efficiency chart.
I'm going to click on to see if it gets bigger so I can see
Yes,
it.
it does. In fact, if you click on, I think you sent me this, if you go down just a little bit, you can download the chart.
Oh, there's the whole chart. Okay.
Yeah, you can download the whole chart. But when
we're just going to glance at this briefly.
You sent me this.
And
This
you
is a
said,
chart that goes from 1976
yes.
to the present and a little bit beyond, meaning that people are making some.
Wow, you know what's interesting? I'm looking at
predictions.
so if you look at 1975, it's that they really had not
They
even
had
started
nothing.
Studying.
Essentially, there was
photovoltaics.
very little going on in this solar power chip.
Wow.
Before 1975, which blows my mind. I was under the impression that back in the 1960s they were doing experiments, but
They were, yeah.
evidently not too much.
Well, and I do know that Western Electric, Bell Laboratories, and those, they understood.
Sure.
I mean, the photovoltaics were being understood, but wow. So when I look at this chart,
yeah, when you look at this chart, when you go back to 1976, the green lines, which are thin film technologies, started in somewhere between like 0.5% efficient up to about 8 or 9% efficient.
even then people were excited by that.
Right. Now, by the time that you got the thin films to the 1990s, we're only looking at somewhere between 8 and 12% efficient. When you get to 2000, you're looking at somewhere between 12 and 18% efficient. What's interesting, at about 2011, 2012, that really shallow slope starts to go up. Isn't that fascinating? Like right there.
Yeah.
And it gets up into the 20s, 23%, 22%.
Okay. Well, no, it's because I want it because
And that just blows my mind.
Because I want to again apologize.
so cool.
I want to apologize ahead of time for the next thing I'm going to do to
Okay,
you,
all right.
Robert. Because we're going to go back and we're going to look at something somebody posted.
Okay.
About some impending thing. But before we leave that, I want to say that
There are
there's some
things called multi-junction cells that were started to be thought about 1977, and really started experimenting in the 1980s, the mid 1980s.
Yeah. Now look up in the
some
purple,
of these things.
say the
have,
4 junction. I'm looking at the top.
The top one is 47.1% efficient.
Okay, now, and the things that are important to realize,
Whoa!
we're talking about 4 junction, which is just
Yes.
the little one, but those are a little bit down here. And one of the important distinctions is, say, 4 junction or more with a concentrator.
Yeah.
Now, when they mean that, one of the things that I figured out from, just teaching kids, you can get little solar photovoltaic cells. I mean, you guys have them here at the
Yeah.
Smart Center. One of the things we realized was, okay, how much is it producing? And it produces a fair amount, but you can take like a really big device, like a Fresnel lens,
A mirror or a lens.
and it
Sure.
turns out if you actually say the cell can actually produce way more,
Yes.
like 10 or 20 times more electricity without being damaged or
Right.
causing any problems. So that's one of the other things. Now, for our purposes, let's say we just I'm looking down here at single crystal non-concentrator. Look, mobile solar, and I'm going to just say as I look at this, Robert. Mobile is that a solar power company? Mobile
Look
is down here.
a
Mobile oil.
company. Yep.
And then RCA and Sandy. Anyway,
Yeah.
it started with here's where I'm saying these are where some people went off the rails.
Mm-hmm.
Mobile comes up with the first This is a single. We're just talking about single, no complicated, single crystal.
Just a single crystal, and this was in they started in 1977,
And they decided
RCA came around in 1978.
Well, what they did is they probably fired all the people at this oil company who came up with solar, and then they ditched it. But just because I'm going to go into a little analysis here, we're going to follow this. So it's been improved. So let's just see kind of where it is. As late as 215, 216, somewhere in there, it's basically 20. Let's just say 25. It's 26 point something, 25%.
Any six.
So I'm not even talking about these exotic
27.
solar panels.
So you're saying just a single crystalline cell,
simple,
the simple. You grow the crystal, you slice it into a disc or whatever, and you put some electrodes on it.
Yeah. So
Gotcha.
the thing is,
Okay.
when you look at this chart, it's like almost astounding at how many different things there are. Mm-hmm. And it's really, it's astounding and it's impressive, okay?
Yeah.
So now I'm going to go back to the launch pad of science.
I'm just going to mention what impressed me when I first saw this is there is a general trend to more efficiency.
Oh, yeah.
And I would love to see this is over 25, 35, 40 years. 45 years.
Yeah.
What's the next 45 years going to look like?
Well, and there's going to be diminishing returns. But,
Sure.
But listen, I remember this. Oh my gosh, this had to be literally in the 1970s.
Mm-hmm.
I can remember that people analyzing the situation were saying, well, yeah, this solar thing is promising at 10%, but if it got to be 15 or 20,
it would be a game changer.
It could replace.
Right. Yes.
Okay, well,
but it's now beyond that.
It's beyond that.
Yes.
Right. All right. So let's
Way
go
beyond.
back. Let's go back and I love all these other stories I have, but I'm going to go to the solar power.
Okay.
Now, when I click on solar power, what we come to, this is something from the Journal of Nuclear Physics.com, which is it covers all kinds of stories. This is from one particular thing where they're talking about Andre Rossi and his ECAT. And I will apologize to people who are going,
Not
are
again.
you guys serious about this ECAT thing? Yeah, we actually are. I actually am serious about it because I've been following it, and I've talked to people, and I know that the Naval Research Laboratories are serious because they've patented similar stuff. And I know that the NASA Glenn Research Center
doing the same
up
stuff.
in Ohio has proposed metal lattice structures for fusion reaction confinement. This stuff, is reality.
This is real.
Now, the basic people go, I don't know what this is all about. If you were to be on the radiosciencenews.org page, there's a thing where we have the Rossi blog,
Right.
and it's a discussion of Andre Rossi and his Leonardo Corporation rolling out a device which is using some of this stuff that many people are looking at.
Okay, so this is from
If you click on
a gentleman by
Stephen
by the name of
Carell's.
Stephen N. Carell's.
Now he's been a big follower of this, and he'll talk. And the thing is, Rossi talks back and forth to all these
So
people.
this is November 6th, 2021, and he says, "Dear Andrea Rossi,
If you
a
click on it, it'll
proposal
actually get
for a
bigger if you click
sunless
it up there.
solar power generator. In the event that the SKLED works, but other ECAT products do not, how about an electrical generation device using only the ECAT SKLEDs?"
Okay, so now we'll stop for a second because
Okay.
we talked about the ECAT SKLED is basically that Rossi is using his technology,
Right.
which takes a certain amount of electricity. There's a process using, you have a metal lattice, a very nickel being a very cheap, and then you have other things. But the point is, he basically is creating more energy, coefficients of power, more energy than you put into it.
Right.
Now, we will absolutely go along with Stephen Carell's here and say, well, if this works as it is, and the big news is if you look at our site a couple weeks ago, December 9th, there's going to be a whole demonstration with questions and answers. You can submit your questions. If you're a big naysayer, like if you're Rex Tillerson, and you're sitting at home going, well, I work for Exxon.
Not
all these
gonna work.
years. I want to know how this. You can just send questions now. So the analysis here. Now you have your little. Do you have your pad there?
I have my
I know you've got
calculator
your
ready to rock.
calculator and your pad.
Yep.
So the one thing that you do know is that it's not unreasonable that you could probably go out and you can order online. They say you could go to Walmart's camping division,
sure.
and you could get one of those little things that you hook up to your little, like if you want to have to recharge trickle charge your battery for your camper.
Right.
So you could get a SAN. I mean, there are good products out there. We're going
Right.
to say that are going to be. We said arbitrarily, we'll take the 25%, right?
Sure,
25% efficient. So that's your first number. here.
So he says the SK LED produce illumination of the equivalent of a 100-watt LED lamp or 700-watt incandescent lamp consumes 4 watts of input electric power and costs unit price $25 US
God,
dollars.
I can afford that.
We
So-
all can.
Now here's the thing. You and I have been talking about this back and forth.
Right.
Because when we're talking, and a big important thing that people have to understand is the coefficient of power is I put in so much power.
So much power, and then you
I get so much power out.
Get out.
Now, I'm
and
gonna
so he's saying that he's going to put in the equivalent of a 100-watt LED lamp,
Which is 700
comes
watts.
out, but it only consumes 4 watts.
Okay, and the thing that I want to say that one of the things that is frustrating is we're talking about actual light production,
Right.
lumens.
Yes.
We're talking about an incandescent lamp that produces 700 watts, and we're talking mostly light, mostly heat.
Yeah.
It becomes complicated.
Mostly heat.
But if we're just going to sort of use these numbers
Yeah.
and then assume that, well, maybe there are probably inefficiencies or something. Like I said, I think it's important if we could go back because he gets down into a kind of a complicated thing
Yeah.
here.
So he says that if you've got a solar panel that's 2 by 1 meter, it can produce 300 watts to 400 watts of electrical power in full sunlight conditions. The solar radiance is about 100,000 watts per square meter. And so if you go, okay, so that's 2 square meters. The solar radiance is about 100 watts per square meter, so that's 10,000 watts. And he's saying you can get between 300 and 400 watts. So that's in that range of 15 to 20%, right?
Right,
For the average solar panel that you could go to Lowe's and buy.
Yeah.
Right. Okay.
Okay, now the reason why this is so fascinating is it sounds a little bit like some crazy kid in their science project. You're going, well,
Yeah,
why
it does.
couldn't you do so? Let's just basically, for the sake of argument, say that that you put in 4 watts,
Right.
and you get out 700 watts.
Right. So
What's your COP on that with your calculator?
175?
Yikes. Okay, so
Okay.
now
Now again, I realize that there are people out there rolling their eyes going, what is wrong with you guys?
No.
Hey, what is wrong with us is that
paying
we're
attention.
talking in a language that you might not understand. As
Oh,
we
I think they
talked about, and as we have, you can put in a small amount of energy and get a large amount of energy back in the right situation.
yeah, it's a process thing.
Yes. For instance, if you the energy it takes you to reach into a box of matches and strike the match and then put it into
Light
a pile of leaves
Yeah, light your campfire.
is very,
or
very
something.
small. But the amount of energy you get out of that situation is very, very large.
Right.
All right. And so that's what we're talking about.
Oh, in
What
fact,
this-
I need to. When I said coefficient of power, it's not actually the language itself is part of the reason why this makes sense. It's a coefficient of performance.
Right.
Because
Okay.
because you can get confused by thinking power in,
Power
power
and-
out.
right.
And you
So-
made
Yeah. So what you have to think about is that Rossi and his team has hit up a pile of leaves, to say, all right, and then you apply a small amount of energy into this Rossi pile of leaves, and you get a bunch back.
Yeah, you get
So
and it's not
that's what-
excess. It's
yeah.
not even crazy or excess.
No.
And it's not even, as Rossi has said, we're not talking about even calling it cold fusion
No.
or anything. These are just well-known physics and chemistry things that happen.
Right.
Okay, so the kind of point of this is, if you had one solar panel
Right.
and you just had one of these lights,
Right. He's saying as you go down through all the math and all the stuff, he says in 1 year's time, 17,520 kilowatt hours would be generated, assuming a retail cost of 20 cents per kilowatt hour. A cost return would be $3,504 per year of operation.
yeah. Well, and the thing is,
It's 11:45.
well, thank you, Zarvex. Part of, like I said, this I was hoping I'm putting this out on some kind of a complex.
Yeah.
But because he talks about whether you're going to use three, he's talking about using like three of the SK LED lights, which would set
Sure.
you back maybe $75,
Right.
right? And if you had that in a single solar panel, because one of the things we just talked about is if you have one of these lights and shine it on a solar panel, you're going to get a certain amount of electricity out, right?
If you have
So-
3 lights, you're going to
You'll have
be
more.
getting more.
But now,
Sure.
but just because I'm trying to wrap my head around this, and I
Yeah.
want people to see this as if I'm going to say, Robert, that you and I, being cheap as we are,
We are.
we're going to get together and put $12.50 in and buy one of these
Okay,
lights.
one light at $25.
Okay, and so what we're going to do is, then we're going to, say we have we're just going to say assume we have one of these solar panels, right?
Okay, and
And we're going to shine
let's-
all of the light
All right.
onto, maybe we'll make a cool box with we'll take our aluminum foil hats and
Oh,
flatten it
now
out.
we're talking.
And so
I have.
So Robert, you now have
loads
your
of those.
SK LED light shining on a solar panel.
Okay.
Okay, now, because, like I said, I am simplifying this just to the point of where somebody could go, so wait a minute, I think I see what you're doing. If I take 4 watts of electrical energy and plug in my little light and use 4 watts, and then I produce 700 watts of you know what? Maybe we should, because we're thinking an incandescent light. When they say 700 watt, they are talking about the light output.
They are, I think.
Even though there is a huge excess of heat
There's
too,
an enormous amount of
which means
excess
that you
heat.
could probably have other kinds of.
Yeah, sure.
You could take the heat and turn that into. You'd have a different solar. But
Right.
we're just talking about. You have a
Light.
solar. You got
Light.
your on your paper. I see you've got your solar panel that can produce 25% efficiency.
Right.
And I just put in 4 watts.
Right.
And I've now blasted out 700 watts. Now, so you're going to tell me what's the 25% of my 700 watts? How much am I going to get back from this bulb? I'm excited to see this, Robert.
175 watts.
So now I have 175
Or
watts.
times.
Okay, so what's my coefficient of performance for this cheap little science project I just
Well,
set up?
yeah, it's 175 because I put.
Oh, you already did that.
Just
Okay.
put that in. Right.
So wow,
Yeah.
this is really pretty impressive.
This
Now-
is very impressive.
now-
Now, there will be loss and there will be other costs.
I'll tell you what, because I'm assuming, Robert, I know you, like me, you lose things.
Oh, I do all
Let's
the
let's
time.
lose 70. Let's just take it to a coefficient of performance of 100.
100. Sure.
So now I have a coefficient of 100.
Right.
I put in 4 watts and I get out 400 watts, right?
Right.
Okay, so how many more SK LEDs can I power with it? Oh, I could have 100, right?
Sure.
Could I shine them on my solar panel
You
again?
certainly could. Yep.
Is this going to blow up the building?
Well, it will get
There'll be
to a
limit.
certain point.
There'll be a limit to
Yes.
the.
Yeah.
But I'm going to tell you that I know as a fact, having used those little solar panels,
That you can
you put on
an
a little-
enormous amount of
that
my energy into them.
that you're going to like drive a little. We drive
Yeah.
those little
Mhm.
lightweight
I know.
cars with the wheels that are made of paper.
Mm-hmm.
They're so thin. I know that without any trouble, I can increase that by. I know I've done it by 10 or 20.
Oh,
by
easily.
using a concentrator.
Easily. Right.
Okay.
So you're saying that with mirrors, that you could turn this $3,504 per year
Well-
into maybe
Well, I'm actually saying
say $15,000 or $20,000 or $30,000.
Well, I'm just what I'm really saying is that I appreciate that he went through and he's the idea of having the efficiency of the inverter and the fact that watts or 80 watts. He's literally got, I think, 20. No, he has 20 SKLEDs, and he says it's 80 watts. Yeah, that's right. 80 watts of power. He's got 20.
Right.
But what I'm saying that regardless of how he puts it into how much you're saving, because people are going to say, well, it's just like I have an expensive guitar,
Sure.
but nobody will buy it. You know,
Right.
the question, but just the simple thing of, if I'm a kid doing a science project, if I were to line these 3 or 4 things up
Yep.
with a couple of meters and a couple of things, I think you would either prove or not prove your point.
I would say right now that if I lived in a area where I could sell electricity back to the grid, and unfortunately I live in West Virginia,
Shouldn't that be every
and
area?
I can't. But if I lived in a state where I was able to do this, I would be doing this now.
Well,
I would be saying, hey, in 10 minutes when Radio Science News is over, Richard, let's go to my house. Let's set this up.
Let's get started.
Let's get started. Yes.
Now, of course, the main thing
and
is,
then as the money started to roll in, and then I started paying for things, I would then do the next one,
Well,
and the
that's if-
next one,
well, that's if
and the
you-
next one, and I would scale this up, and I would buy 100 acres of useless land that some coal company walked away from.
oh, you're serious.
There are plots of land like that,
Okay.
and I would cover it in buildings with this going on. Yeah, that's exactly what
Well,
I do.
the only thing I would do differently, Robert, is I would use, I would let some of the light that just bounces off of the solar thing, I would let it, grow all the plants I now have in the greenhouse. Okay, so I apologize.
completely agree.
I got to tell you, I apologize for doing that analysis.
I agree.
Well, let's just say, Robert, I think it's possible that we could round up some of this stuff, and we'll see.
It's
okay.
not hard.
I just, it sounds so silly when you look at it, but
I know.
It all goes back to the fact that December 9th, when this demonstration is done, and it's going to be completely open to the public, and people are going to be able to see if this works or not. I'm perfectly willing to say, oh, hey, if it doesn't work, Robert and I, we enjoy watching Ancient Aliens, but we always get to the point where we say that part where if so is the
Right.
key point.
See what bothers me is I don't think that you need to put in the 4 watts of power. I
you
think
don't.
you need to put in the 4 watts of power to start it,
Well, that's basically true.
but to maintain it, those 4 watts of power should be coming from the instrument itself.
Well, and
Right?
and actually that is
So what you'd have to do is you should have this thing, and there should be a hand crank on the side, and you should wind it up, and you would charge up some little thing, and you'd push a button, and it would go whoop, and start up and maintain itself until it was out of fuel.
That's right, and I think,
Right?
frankly, I think that is the case. But you don't want to make things too
Too simple.
I think part of it is you can order these. He says you can order it as a 12-volt thing, and I'm going
Right.
to just tell people if you're wondering what we're talking about, we're going back to the ECAT SK,
Was
which is
that
November
November
6th.
Yeah.
If you look at that,
was
and
last
then the
week.
demo,
Yeah. There's
basically,
all the information
basically the point is, I think that there's something remarkable here, and it's.
I do too.
I don't think it takes a whole lot to figure out if, of course, this works as it says it does.
Right.
And if it doesn't, then I'll be the first to say, well,
I will be standing right beside you going, oops, I was hoodwinked.
Well, no,
But
I'm just going to
I
say.
don't believe I am.
With science, it either works or it doesn't.
Right.
And
True or false?
I'm not
There
willing. I'm not willing to.
There isn't any gray area.
Well, and I'm just not willing to say that the Glenn Research Center up in Ohio and the NASA folks.
Nope, me either.
And the people who have patented stuff at, believe it or not, Google and the Naval Research Laboratories. I'm just not going to throw those guys under the bus as
Me
being
either, no.
dummies. So such a crazy guy. All right, let's jump into. I'm looking at these stories, and again, Robert, I'm looking at. We have less time.
We've got
than I
about
want.
6 minutes left.
Let's look at, you know what, this might be useful because I've been thinking about,
Tools?
I've used the word tools probably too many times lately because I'm thinking what is with you? No. So check this out.
All right.
This is an important thing because the reason why I gravitated towards this story was because, Robert, what kind of science do you and Libby have you promoted for so long, Robert?
Hands-on science.
Hands-on science.
Oh, this
So-
is interesting. Using mechanical tools improves our language skill. Study finds this from November 11th, 2021 from INSERM, Institut National de la Santé et la Recherche.
It's a French guys. These French guys are. Yeah.
Yes. Summary: research has revealed a correlation between being particularly proficient in tool use and having good syntactic ability.
Syntactic. So yeah, being able to.
That's really interesting. A new study has shown.
No, so wait a minute.
Has now shown.
What's the difference between other primates and humans? They said it was their use of tools, right?
Yeah, supposedly, yeah.
And do they talk? Do they? Some
They
of them talk better.
also
than
have
other
languages there.
No, I
New
get
study
it.
has now shown that both skills rely on the same neurological resources, which are located in the same brain
See,
region.
I didn't know that.
So, furthermore, motor training using a tool improves our ability to understand the syntax of complex sentences and vice versa.
Wait a minute. Vice versa. What's that mean?
I don't know.
Syntactic.
Syntactic training improves our proficiency in using tools,
Oh, wait a
and
minute. It's an equation.
using tools improves our syntactic ability.
Wait a minute. This is like an equation.
Yeah. Tools equal language, language equals tools.
I love this little thing. Now, one of the things that obviously
Wow,
anybody
this is
who is
highly cool.
anybody who has ever had a little baby in their environment
Yep.
knows that one of the first things that they want to do is they want to.
They want to play with things.
and if you're
they
a
want
teacher,
to touch things.
if you're a teacher, you talk about manipulatives.
Yes.
Things where people.
Kids have to use their hands and we do this long ongoing joke about it's almost like they've got eyes on the little ends of their hands and fingers. They want to look at things, but they also want to touch things,
Well,
which makes perfect
this
sense.
has this little
Wow.
particular story has so much cool stuff in it. I mean, it's the fact that they've actually now from literally an identification of literally the physiological regions of the brain using the same thing, and they would do that with PET scans.
Sure.
All this stuff they do. But the idea that motor training using a tool improves our ability to understand. I mean, it's just this is such a profound and astonishing story.
Well, wouldn't you say that playing a musical instrument
I have said
is
that.
kind of like a tool to create joy, to
Yeah.
create music, and that doing music relates back to your your
People have said that, Robert.
math and language.
Math and science skills.
Yep.
Have we not talked about that?
I think we
multiple
have
times?
talked about that. So here's just one more group of people saying, "Hey, folks, this is important. You need to do hands-on science. If you're not doing hands-on science," and I'm just going to say this because there are people that don't understand this.
Well, they
if
want to
you're
get away
not
from it.
doing hands-on science because you're lazy, you are taking away from the children, and their language skills are suffering for it.
I'm going to say you guys
just
are
telling you
you're
right there.
destroying syntax. That's what I'm
Yes,
saying.
destroy the syntax.
Now listen, I have my personal story, Robert, is you know how people I have lots of friends that always do all their dishwashing with dishwashers.
Okay.
Oh, and there are good health reasons for it, right? But I actually hand wash everything myself. Because I have always believed this concept of, because as a guitar player and a piano player, I find that it improves my manipulative skills.
So you're like a big raccoon.
Well,
You-
kind of.
You just yeah.
You could see.
Very cool.
Well, but see, the thing is, and here's what's really smart. I've convinced my wife and family that they could just let me do all the dishes, and it'll just make me smarter. And they go, "Oh, you're right. I can already tell you've gotten smarter already." So
I'm not sure you're the smart one there, but
now,
okay.
wait a minute.
Okay,
See, now
I can see that.
I have this scientific article.
Which proves beyond a doubt that you should do all the pots and pans.
Oh yeah, and typically, like what they'll do is they'll use like 5 or 10 glasses during a day, and I get to wash them all. Isn't that nice?
Isn't that nice of them?
Well, and the only part I'm worried about is that it may not actually be improving my overall intelligence. It may be just improving my syntax when I explain to them why I should get to do the dishes.
do the dishes.
What do you
Yes,
think?
I completely understand.
So you concur with my analysis?
I do indeed.
I'm just going to say, let kids play with rocks. Let kids play with dirt. Let them do. I mean, this is really, I think it's a profound thing.
Yeah. It's very